What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. As you're watching this, it's Skews Day at 5, just like it always is. But here in the past, where me and Mark are recording this from, it's Monday, January 20th, 2025. Nothing really of note happened today. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. Pretty lackluster day overall. But it's 3:12 p.m. on the left coast, just so y'all know in context where we're at when we pop up on your screen and you're watching this. But it is still Weekly Skews. I'm still Trey, and that's still Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, at least we were spared the normal, because the conservatives were all busy, MAGA people were all busy, we were spared the normal MLK Day. If Martin Luther King was alive today, he'd be MAGA stuff, so at least we were spared that.
Trump did a little bit of that in his inauguration speech, so he slid it in there. But,
nice.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so before we talk about what actually happened today, Trump moved his inauguration indoors for whatever reason. People are saying it's a crowd size. I personally think it's because he's afraid of getting shot, but because he's a couple of near misses. But whatever.
I thought they acknowledged that it was cold. Isn't that what they'd said? But like last week.
Right, but it's always cold in January.
No, I know. I hear you.
Yeah.
Which that made it funnier to me. It didn't cross my mind that was a bullshit excuse. In my head, I was just like, that's hilarious that. That's never been a problem before, but that's how little of a fuck he gives. But it does make more sense that would just be cover for some other thing, like being paranoid or something. But I didn't even think about that. I just thought it was funny.
I've been on bar patios in the winter where they heat the outdoors. So I'm not like Trump's not going to freeze stuff, whatever reason, I don't know. But because they moved it inside, a bunch of Trump supporters had paid a bunch of money to buy inauguration tickets off Craigslist, $500 a piece, and thousands in airfare and hotel, and were in D.C. before they found out they wouldn't be able to go. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure who they get mad at, but we're really going to test the limits of how much Trump can rob his own supporters.
Right.
He launched a meme coin over the weekend that immediately made him billions and billions of dollars of fake paper money, but on paper made him richer more money than he ever has his entire life as allegedly being a billionaire. But in a scammy way that even made Dave Portnoy mad.
Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports. Noted
big MAGA guy.
Thought leader and rational thinker, Dave Portnoy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't really understand crypto stuff because I don't care about it, but the way they managed it was apparently a transparent insider trading scam. They basically sold all the coins to themselves first before the value inflated. You could follow this stuff on the blockchain. So a bunch of hardcore Bitcoin guys Trump's robbing us. All these guys think that because Trump's pro crypto, they're going to get rich now instead of he's just going to take their grift from them.
Yeah, I mean, you know that I'm very dumb about crypto stuff too, but isn't that, maybe it's how they all work, but isn't that kind of what the Hawk Tuah thing,
yes.
They bought it all themselves first, then it skyrockets, they dump it all. And, I mean, there's a name, it's the pump and dump thing, right? It's it's like a known strategy for defrauding people with crypto, and he's a known grifter, and they still, but I guess they're all not me though, but presumably at least some of these people had stock in Trump Media or whatever it's called, and some of these other bought his NFTs and shit. So I don't know. I don't know what they're expecting at this point.
No, but they apparently the Trump people got too high on their own supply because they immediately launched a Melania meme coin that and as soon as they did that, the value of Trump's meme coin collapsed by 40% because they were had diversified into too many grifts. Anyway, so gonna be a fun 4 years of this shit on top of all the corruption stuff is dangerous in the long term. This is how you end up being like when Russia went to invade Ukraine and they realized there were none of their their version of Humvees had tires on them because they'd all been sold. Mm-hmm. This is how that process starts. So it's not that this stuff doesn't suck, but if they just spent their time doing this stuff, I'd be we'd all be better off for it. But at least in the medium term. But yeah, it's let's loot the place. Fuck it.
Yep. Indeed. All right. Well, let's get into it. Before we continue, I want to remind you all of a couple things, as I always do. First, if you'd like to see me do stand-up comedy live and in person, go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my tickets from upcoming shows. I'll be in Santa Barbara this weekend. That show is actually sold out, I believe, at a theater. So thank you, Santa Barbara. If any of y'all are already got tickets and you're coming, I appreciate it. If you don't have tickets, sorry, they beat you to it. Maybe some of them maybe there'll be some fallout if you want to come stand outside, like Trump's fans at his inauguration. But anyway, then I'll be in Salt Lake City and whole bunch of places coming up soon. So go to TreyCrowder.com and come see me. Also, if you enjoy this here program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. You can go to weeklyskews.com/more, or you can go on Patreon and search for my name. Either way works. $5 a month gets you access to 2 full-length bonus episodes. It's 2 more episodes of this show per month. That's what it is. If you like the show, that's what it is. 2 more of them. Except sometimes we do Skew and A's. We answer your questions, get a little interactive, so that's fun too. So yeah, $5 a month gets more Skews in your life. Support the show in the process. Now, as for the show tonight, like I said, two main things happened recently. Trump got inaugurated again. If you guys hadn't heard about that, it was a whole thing this morning. And before that, all the rage, all the banter, and all the hubbub was about TikTok. This was talked about on a scale akin to that of a falling empire, the death of TikTok. So we're going to get into, and it's already died and then came back, and apparently Trump himself is the one who saved it, to hear TikTok tell it, at least in their little messages that pop up when you open the app. So we're going to talk about all that, see what really happened there a little later. But first, we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, people who are just turning in who might assume Joe Biden is Donald Trump's butler.
Cut it, Matt. Fuck this shit so much. I welcome home, if you guys couldn't quite make that out, which is like sort of like parrots the MAGA messaging of daddy's home, which they've been saying all over TV, which is so cringe. I can't believe congressmen are getting on TV and saying it. These people have no dignity or self-respect. I would have thought Joe Biden would have more than this, but after he took those, did that photo op with Trump after Trump won, where they're both smiling and hugging each other, I don't know how to square this with the fact that today Biden issued a bunch of last-minute pardons. He pardoned Leonard Peltier, which is good, even if you don't think his trial was iffy. He's been in prison for 50 years, and he's a dying old man. You can let him go home and have a couple home-cooked meals before he kicks the bucket. He also pardoned Anthony Fauci, Mark Milley, the J6 committee, some Capitol police officers who testified in the J6 hearings, and 5 members of his own family, because he thinks they're in legal peril over nothing, while he's also saying welcome home and smiling to the guy he thinks might imprison his own brother.
Right, so a few things about all of that. The welcome home and smiling, the pictures and all that, do you think this is just another example of how the Democrats refuse to admit that things are not the way that they were for so many years in American politics? Meaning, for so long, they were all part of the same club. They were all buddy with each other, and it was just, and they put on a show for the cameras or whatever. But I had thought that in recent years, with the MAGA version of the right, that the fucking gloves were off at least a little bit more. That had changed some, but the Democrats, especially the oldest fuck ones like Biden, seem to have a dogged resistance to accepting that or acknowledging it. You know what I mean? It's no, you can still reach across the aisle. You can still work with these people. There's still personal, decorum or warmth or whatever. That's how this is supposed to work. But it's we're not living in the same world that we used to be, but they just refuse to acknowledge it. Or do you think it's just that it still is the way that it always was, i.e. they still are all in the same club together that they always were, and it is kind of just bullshit?
What? So Trump was asked about, Biden pardoning Anthony Fauci and flipped the fuck out and said Fauci committed a ton of crimes, which Fauci was CDC director under Donald Trump. And all he did, again, or whatever, not CDC, I forget what exactly his job title was, but National Institutes of Health, I think?
I think so, yeah. NIH, I think.
They issue non-binding recommendations.
Right.
Dr. Fauci had no power to do any of the stuff that Trump actually did. So either if what you're saying is true and things are just normal, and it's just for the TV show, why does Anthony Fauci need a fucking pardon? Why does Joe Biden's family need a pardon?
That's a good point. Yeah.
He seems to understand it in this one instance, but not when he's saying welcome home.
Well, that's I'm not saying that I think, it's still all the same as it ever was. I was but that's not what I think. I think it's the first thing. I think it's that they won't acknowledge that it's not the way that it used to be. Even if they do seem to acknowledge it with their actions like this, it's still when they get in person, it's there's just a way things are done or something. But as far as all the pardons, and I don't know, this probably happens with every presidential pardon like this that ever happens, maybe, but the riot, of course, today when these first came out this morning when they woke up to them were they were well, there's no could not be any more clear evidence or more clear acknowledgement that there was in fact wrongdoing here. We all knew that there was wrongdoing this whole time. Well, now he's been pardoned. There's no reason to pardon someone who didn't do anything wrong, you know. And of course, like if Trump pardoned himself or anything like that happened, that would be a witch hunt that was politically motivated and all that. But with Fauci, they're like, this is how you know that we were right, and that I don't even know what the crimes are supposed to be, but that we were right and crimes were being committed the whole time, and this is proof because he pardoned him.
What Mark Milley did is in the last days of the Trump administration, he called his counterpart in China and said to please don't worry, no matter what's posted on Twitter, don't worry, we're not launching nuclear weapons. That's what Mark Milley did. That apparently is so. What Trump wants to do is to call him back to active duty out of retirement and court-martial him. Okay, so either that's real or it's not. So like but I can't figure out the life of me what. It's just another example of like Democrats being like the institution of Democrats. Basically, every Democrat over a certain age, should be leading, following, and not leading, basically, because they don't understand anything about this moment. The TikTok ban is part of that.
Right.
But it's just incredibly frustrating to watch like this play out this way, because what the public's watching is Biden being friendly to him, even if the subtext of people, if you follow the news deeply, is Trump's very, very dangerous. But which one is it? Your rhetoric has to match your actions and so forth, because people don't see a ton of the news. So, but like my thing is like, if Trump is this dangerous, what makes you think they'll abide by the pardons?
Right. Yeah, or any of it, anything ever. You know, they just make his own rules. You know,
right? So like if you ignore the fact that they could probably just ignore the pardons and try them for something federally anyway. If they find a judge to throw the pardons out under some like made up constitutional bullshit, even though the pardon power is supposed to be absolute, there's still state charges. You can find a MAGA attorney general to like trump up charges against Anthony Fauci and have Border Patrol do extraordinary rendition on him to kidnap him from Connecticut and ship him to Texas or whatever. Like, there's nothing. So the pardons are fake too.
Yeah, right. Well, in that case, I don't know. I mean, I do agree with you, but at the same time, it's like I don't know what else you're supposed to do if you're in Biden's position, I guess, other than get the SEALs to kill people or something and test the limits of the presidential immunity. But because I agree with you all the time, I'm like, they act like there are still rules. There's not rules. It's been like he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and he will. But I don't know what that leaves. I don't know what that leaves. What options that leaves Joe Biden with in turn, even in like acknowledging that. I mean, what? So what? He just tells them like, look, they won't abide by my pardons anyway. So good luck with that shit, y'all. You know?
Yeah. Like, I think it's useful for the rest of us to still believe the rules should matter, because
of course
the judiciary is not going to surrender all their. The judiciary has set themselves up as God kings, right? They're not going to just hand their power to Trump just because he says stuff. So the the laws are still going to matter somewhat, to the degree he does stuff they don't like. There's still a bunch of judges who aren't fucking insane maniacs. They're still career employees, the DOJ for now. Yeah, like it's still it's like the laws don't matter thing is partially like it's sort of true. I'm not trying to be naive, but we should still hope they do. But dude, Biden posted this on Twitter on his way out. Probably all socials. He said, "Scripture says, I have been young and now I'm old, yet I have never seen the righteous forsaken. After all these years serving you, the American people I have not seen the righteous forsaken." So the first part's a Bible quote, obviously, but like they've never seen the righteous forsaken. Bro, do you watch the fucking news? The righteous are nothing but forsaken.
Yeah, didn't realize the White House was a rock you could live under. But it is like a classic like career politician thing to say or think or whatever. Because it's like, yeah, dude. I mean, Corey said this in our group chat, but it's true. It's like anyone whose eyes have been open knows it's like the righteous stay being forsaken. Yes. In this country, not just this country, just in the world, just in general. It happens all the fucking time, all around the globe, but it especially happens in this country in the present day. Like, you know, I mean, in fact, it almost is more like the opposite. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like it's the ones who ought to be forsook that don't get forsaken very often. Right. I don't know what's the opposite. What's the opposite of righteous? Not wicked. Fallen, but yeah, wicked. There you go, wicked. See, that's perfect. Yes, the wicked or get forsaken less than the righteous do. I feel like,
Right.
generally speaking. So I don't know what the fuck that's about.
I don't know what particular Bible passage that's from. I'm assuming it's going back to the whole, largely the point of the Bible was addressing, slaves obey your masters, and trying to be like, well, we know this life sucks, but because this life sucks, you'll be better off in the next one. And maybe that's what Joe Biden's message to us is like, well, maybe the afterlife will hit.
Right.
Yeah. So you watched the speech. I didn't. I was watching basketball because I don't hate myself. So you go ahead.
Yeah, diarrhea. I had I got an assignment. It's my day job, Mark. I make pithy videos about things that happen, so sometimes I have to pay attention to shit. Yeah, I did watch it. So my basic takeaway, I say basic, and then cut to 8 minutes later, I'm still rambling, so don't let me do that. But basically, I think the main thing that I thought while watching it is like, my God, he is absolutely smashing for his people, like for the Aunt Tammys and the Uncle Randys and the Papaws and stuff. Like, he is really doing it with this one, because it's like they, even them, like we said in the campaign, like I saw on conservative subreddits and stuff during the campaign and the election and all that. So even conservatives being like, God damn, he really needs to chill with some, like he's making himself look like an idiot, like some of the shit he was doing and the rambling and all that. But like he was on point today with his MAGA bullshit. And especially what I noticed was like so much of what he says is like, or so much what he said today rather, sounds fucking great. Like if you're dumb and wrong about stuff, or if you like don't know how things work. And what I mean is, like, for example, at one point pretty early on, he was like, this country does not work for regular people. It does not work for or protect, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was something very close to this. Does not work for or protect regular people. Instead, it's just a favored few. It benefits a favored few at the expense of everyone else, right? And you hear that, and I'm like, fucking A, absolutely, that's true. I'm thinking of billionaire oligarchs or whatever. He's talking about phantom immigrants pooping in CVS's or whatever. Like, that's what he's talking. So, like, that type of thing kept happening throughout the whole speech, where it's like he would be like, our public health system has failed Americans. And I'm like, you're goddamn right, it has. But like, I'm pro Luigi and he's pro privatizing the whole thing and giving control of it all. And so like the whole thing was just that over and over again. Him saying stuff that it's like, if you don't know, and then I think about, well, these people don't know. They only have their one perspective on it. And it's like, he says all this shit that really does kind of sound great if you don't know how full of shit it is or what he actually means by it, but like I feel like I do, so I'm disgusted by so much of it. But I know at the same time, like I said, your Aunt Tammy on Facebook, she's like, God damn, this motherfucker is checking every box. He's on fire today. I guarantee that's how they felt about it, because he closed with the whole thing about how hard America rules and but also how hard he rules, and how now that he's back, America's going to rule harder than it's ever ruled before, right? And what was hilarious about that, hold up, what the best part about that was he ended with that, and then right after he closed with, I'm making America hit harder than it's ever hit before, and America's always crushed. Right after that, they spent 5 minutes standing around in awkward silence because his staff couldn't figure out how to play the backing music for Carrie Underwood's closing song. So they just they're all just standing around looking like the song came on, then it cut out, it came on, it cut out. It was like just this big grandiose testament to American exceptionalism, followed by like a very objective display of incompetence on their part. It was very an appropriate metaphor and for the whole thing to me. So yeah.
I saw, talk about how not knowing how anything works. I saw he announced that besides doubling down and invading Panama, he says we're going to go to Mars during his next term, which is like anybody that says you're going to Mars says you need a staging base on the moon first. Right. So anyone we set to Mars is a one-way trip just to die. So good luck to whoever's going to be sent there to die like in the end of Total Recall.
A good example, I think, for because we've brought it up before. I'm a space dork and I love aliens and space shit, and I'm a big NASA guy. Love the Apollo program. I love all that stuff, and I've often lamented us abandoning all that. I think we should have been on Mars at this point, considering we got to the moon in 1969. So most everything about me when the president says like we're going to go to fucking Mars, I'm like, hell yeah, fucking finally, it's about time. But I can't help but think about how like is this just so we can make fucking Elon a trillionaire like
Yes,
SpaceX?
yes,
Right.
yes.
I know. I can't help but think about that shit. And I'm like, even the things that should hit for me don't, because I understand the reality of them, or whatever. At least I think that I do.
Yeah.
And so many people
But,
don't.
but when even you were kind of getting rhetorically played by fantasies of American greatness, like we're in a bad place.
Right.
So, see, Elon did a Nazi salute during a speech today.
Yeah, I saw the. It's fine. I didn't know.
Two
Was
Nazi
his speech
salutes.
after the thing?
They're running. There's a bunch of different inaugural
Okay, all
parties and
right.
stuff. I'm not
Because
sure.
I'd say I just had it on. I just watched Trump's big speech and everything before and right after it. They had like 4 different types of prayers. I didn't realize they did that, but I guess it makes sense. All Christian, no other religions, but like all the different types of Christian in this country, they all got a chance to pray, so that's nice. But yeah, I didn't even see Elon go up there. But I saw the pictures afterwards of him apparently appearing to Sig Heil or whatever.
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, like we're in year 12 of this like joke these guys have, where where the joke is they pretend to be a Nazi, and the joke is everyone gets mad at them for being a Nazi, and that's what's funny about it. And I'm just like, I'm through. We're not. It's whatever. But like the excuses were, I guess if you want to be charitable, some of the news descriptions painted it as a quote Roman salute, which it is, but I think it got pretty thoroughly rebranded in the 1930s.
yeah, it's like pointing at a swastika and being like, this is a traditional spiritual icon in parts of India. Obviously, that's why this white fucking Norwegian with a shaved head had it on his motorcycle boots.
Yeah, exactly.
It's because of Indian spiritual reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, people are like, well, you can't. But he's not a Nazi. He's just autistic. Which I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. But I have no idea to what degree he's going to stick with this or lean into it. But I will say to everyone out there who owns one, good luck getting fair value reselling your Tesla. We're not like he talked about a bunch of executive orders. I haven't seen the text of them, mainly just being mean to trans people and like doing unconstitutional shit about immigration. But anyway, that's all I have to. We'll talk about stuff Trump does. He wants us to be very afraid, and I don't fucking feel like doing it.
Yeah, it is just kind of folly to pay too much attention to what Trump says at any point in time. Like you said, it's like we'll wait and see what he does, and then we'll respond to that. And I think that's fair because he says all kinds of. But that's something. He said so many different versions of like, this is about to be the greatest and most prosperous era in American history. And then he doesn't expand on that or say why or nothing. He just says, like, we're going to fucking be so awesome. And that's what I'm saying. People hear that and like, fuck yeah. They don't care, but they don't need the rationale. They just need to hear that we're fucking awesome. But yeah, so
Has any of our president went up to the inauguration and said, well, America's going to suck from here henceforth?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
So as we move on to the TikTok ban, I just want to point out that Biden used his farewell speech to warn of an oligarchy taking shape of a tech industrial complex. And he also just signed an executive order to lease federal lands to tech companies to build more data centers for artificial intelligence.
Right.
So thanks for that, Joe. And then he spent the last few days of his administration playing a chicken with TikTok and swerving at the last minute into a comically large pile of horse shit.
Yeah, didn't he? I know he did a lot of things in the waning moments of his administration that annoyed a lot of people like that. And didn't he also? Didn't he? He used his last moments to call for like a constitutional amendment to make sure that like presidents are not above the law or something like that, while also warning against this emerging tech oligarchy and all this stuff. And all the comments that I saw on those stories, like on the internet in relation to that, was all like references to "I think you should leave" and the fucking the dude in the the hot dog suit or whatever. It's like but it's also just like, oh man, really wish somebody had been in a position to do something about any of that for the last 4 years or pretend. But it's like I don't know how anybody does anything about anything, but
they've gotten themselves in a situation with tech where all they do is kiss tech's ass, just not as openly as Trump and the MAGA people do. And for that, they get treated like they're being the Gestapo to tech. Like David Sachs, Trump's AI crypto czar, said the oppression of era of crypto is over. And I'm like, who was oppressing? You guys are everywhere. You own everything. What bad stuff? Anyway, Let's talk about TikTok. I want to get into it with this fun story as a reaction to the TikTok ban, which in no way was overboard. Matt, if you got this video.
Overnight, at the office of a Wisconsin congressman, Fond du Lac police arresting a 19-year-old after they say he started the fire in response to the TikTok ban. The flames sparked around 1 o'clock this morning at Representative Glenn Grothman's Fond du Lac office, located in a strip mall on Peters Avenue. Police extinguished some of the
The number of things out there that should make a person want to set a congressman's office on fire or whatever, like the many options you had. You know what I mean? Like Luigi doing what he did, it's like everybody can understand that. But like TikTok going offline, it's like the fact that motivates people to this level of righteous indignation and action is hilarious. And
for like 12 hours. For
right.
like 12 hours overnight.
Yeah. Right.
Glenn Grothman's a Republican, kind of a lunatic. He was 360 House members voted for this. 360 out of 435. More Republicans voted for the Democrats. Somehow the Democrats left holding the bag for this. And Grothman told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that the suspect was arrested at the scene, quote, because he was just sitting there watching it burn. All right. And we talk about this ban. I need everybody to know something about Glenn Grothman. One of his signature pet issues is wanting to ban Kwanzaa. So when you find yourself on aligned on the same side of an issue with him, you should think twice. Okay?
What is the point of banning Kwanzaa? No offense to any of our Kwanzaa celebrators out there or whatever, but it's like, I just don't see how you can even try with a straight face to frame that as anything that isn't just like, you know, I don't like black Africa shit. You know what I mean? Because it's like they talk about liberals and the war on Christmas and all the stuff we've done, but even in that, Kwanzaa don't come up because they know you fucking go to Starbucks or whatever. Ain't nobody talking about Kwanzaa. Like it's just you can't have black people have a thing. I guess.
I think it was a fake. It doesn't matter. So. As far as my personal views on the TikTok ban, I basically have come around from being softly opposed to banning it to firmly being opposed to banning it. But the way people have reacted, including this guy committing arson, to TikTok going away for just a minute, makes my impulsive lizard papa brain think it should have been smashed with hammers about 5 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, can you elaborate on that a little bit? I mean, I get the last part of what you said. I totally understand why that's your response. But I mean, we've talked about it before when it first came up, and I remember us saying, we had Eric Swalwell on here. He said we shouldn't do it. We said we shouldn't do it. But what you said, you've come around from being like, yeah, we shouldn't do it, but whatever, to you're firmly opposed to it. I mean, what changed? What made you? Why do you?
I've read a bunch of like free speech experts and online censorship experts talk about it. When the Supreme Court case, for example, and the law was framed as a data privacy thing. Like, I'm all for data privacy, but you can't do it just to one company because it doesn't do anything. So that's basically what I come around to. You're censoring people's speech, for a made-up reason that you're only applying to one company, right? If you're gonna, it should apply to Twitter, Facebook, Amazon. Every website you use is stealing your cookies. Every app you download to your phone that also steals your contacts for whatever reason. You can't get an app without it taking your contacts. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. So it's like, yeah, if you them framing it like it's a data thing, it's like you clearly don't give a fuck about people's data or data privacy, because every single thing anyone ever does on a goddamn phone or the internet harvests and exploits their data. And so they need like overarching laws about that, not just this one app should not be allowed because of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Because China has a 1% ownership stake and one seat on the board, the China government of China. So this story basically has everything about a lot of stuff. It has a ton of stuff wrong with America involvement. You got censorship. You got the government bailing out or co-opting a private corporation in service of oligarchy. You got everyone flatly ignoring a admittedly stupid law, but it is in fact a law that they wrote, and they're still mad they wrote it and signed it. And you got Democrats being so bad at politics. They basically do politics like Steve-O stapling his balls to his leg, okay? And so I wanted to talk today about how the hell we ended up here if you got this screen grab from TikTok, Matt. Welcome back. This is an announcement all the users got. Thank you for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the United States. You can continue to create, share, and discover all the things you love on TikTok. TikTok has 170 million users in the United States.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's the second. I know you know this, but that's the return message when TikTok when it went down. So when all these people addicted to it got on there and saw that they couldn't get on it, the first message said, because of I'm paraphrasing, because of a bullshit law, you can't have TikTok right now. Not to worry, President Trump has assured us that he's going to work with us to find a solution. So they already set it up to be like President Trump is going to save the day. And then they brought it back like 12 hours later, like you said. And when they brought it back, you're like, thank you, President Trump. And all this happened before he ever got inaugurated. It happened, yesterday, over the weekend, basically.
it happened in the middle of the night when no one was going to use it anyway, right? And also, like, one thing I need everyone to understand here is that nothing changed between Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
Nothing changed. Like, everything that happened with TikTok this weekend is a show, and it's happening outside the law and legal system. So here's the way I'm looking at it, all right? TikTok shut down to send a message to users that Trump wanted to fix it. Then TikTok came back up before the inauguration because Trump wanted it up for his inauguration. Nothing changed in any sort of legal or material condition that impacted TikTok's status. It's an okie doke, and the mildest version of it you'll see for the indefinite future. It's like it's professional wrestling, all right?
Right.
Like,
and I know we're going to get to it, but it's like I was talking to Katie about this while it was banned or whatever, and I was like, yeah, but you see on there, they're talking about how Trump is going to fix it, and it's like the whole thing just feels set up to make Trump look good, and Katie was like, I thought Trump was the person who started the whole thing about banning TikTok.
He did!
Right, yes.
He did!
Right, so what, I'm sure you're going to get us there, but that's a hell of a story arc, Mark. It started with him doing it, and now he's the savior, and what happened in between.
So back in 2020, here's a thing that happened. Here's a data point for everybody. He had a rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma that they sold 1 million tickets for, so they get a bigger arena and created outside standing room capacity. Then when Trump got there, almost no one was there, and it turned out what had happened was a bunch of teens and K-pop fans on TikTok had gotten online and organized to reserve a bunch of fake tickets and then not show up to embarrass him. Mm-hmm. And then he decided he wanted to ban TikTok. This is the rally that led to the death of Herman Cain.
Yep, right.
And Trump's takeaway from it was, these teenagers embarrassed me on this app, we should make it illegal. Okay? Then Biden, for some reason, picked up this executive order idea. Trump's executive order flamed out. Biden tried to do an executive order in 2023, then kind of forgot about it. Trump tried to take credit for Biden's executive order, if you want to throw it up, Matt.
Well, you just said for some reason, Mark, but wasn't like the online conspiracy theory or whatever that the reason Biden picked up the ball with it when he did in the past 18 months or whenever it was for like Israel and Gaza reasons? Because like a lot of stuff was spreading on TikTok about free Palestine and all that shit, and that the Biden administration, they didn't like that. So
I'm choosing not to be too conspiratorial about this because yes, there was a bunch of footage of what a lot of people would call Israeli war crimes floating around.
Yeah,
floating around TikTok, right,
mm-hmm.
and going viral. And
right.
A couple of senators and congresspeople openly said that's one of the reasons they wanted to get rid of it, including Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney said that on stage, that kids are being radicalized against Israel on TikTok, and it's one of the reasons he wanted to ban it. Mm-hmm. But there are a bunch of other concerns too. There's also like just a general moral panic about social media, which I sort of feel too, even though I've read the studies, and there's no reason to really be that concerned about it. There's just like, there is data privacy concerns, and I understand like not wanting. I don't know if you follow like all the Chinese hacking stuff that's going on right now, but like they hacked like 1 million Americans' phones, including some people. They hacked some workstations, I think, at the Treasury Department. I have no idea if TikTok was their way into that stuff. So it's not that there aren't concerns here. It's the way these are being addressed in the stupidest, most ham-fisted way possible, mm-hmm. and also the way that's politically self-destructive and clumsy as fuck. Okay,
right.
So after Trump took credit for the idea for Biden to try to fuck with TikTok, Trump flip-flopped before Biden passed this ban, okay? And that's because Jeff Yass, who's a Pennsylvania billionaire, got in Trump's ear about it. He owns 15% of ByteDance, which owns TikTok. He owns 15 times as much of ByteDance as the Chinese Communist Party does. I
remember us talking about that at the time. Yes, Trump had this meeting with this guy who, owns a huge stake, and then immediately flip-flopped after that, and people were just like, well, People's
Yeah.
minds can change. I don't remember knowing at the time though that Jeff Yass, that he owned that. I don't remember knowing that he owned even more than China does or whatever. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew it then either, but that's how you end up going from this first Charlie Kirk tweet from a couple years ago that reads, Charlie Kirk being a big Trump supporter, President Donald Trump just announced on Air Force One that he'll be banning the evil CCP compromised app TikTok. And then a couple years later, Trump is saving TikTok. Pay attention, Gen Z. Like, okay. Oh, God.
That's up there with Snoop Dogg's flip-flop. You follow the Snoop Dogg thing? Yeah. Snoop Dogg, for y'all that don't know, he performed at the inauguration party like the night before. And in 2016... Yeah, Nelly and Kid Rock, who of course was honored to be there, and the Village people who, them and Nelly. I mean, Nelly ain't maybe on that level, but both the Village people and Nelly, I'm like, well, they probably didn't have a lot else going on, you know, like it. But like Snoop Dogg, people dug up videos from 2016 where this same thing came up for Trump's first inauguration. There's literally Snoop Dogg talking to his own phone and posting on his own social media in 2016, being like, which one of you fucking, hey, he was like, yes, I'll sing for you, massa. I'll do whatever. He's like, which one of you bent over for this fucking motherfucker talking about Trump? He's like, you disgust me. Like, he really spelled out, all the reasons why present day Snoop Dogg doesn't hit, because all these years later he took the offer and did it himself. So
I mean, got to promote the voice, I guess. So then this 2024 law happened. It was a bunch of Republicans and some national security Democrats agitated to attach it to a must-pass national defense authorization bill. And so even though, like I said, more Republicans were supported than Democrats because Biden signed it and the Biden administration pushed for it for whatever reason. Well, we'll get to whatever reason in a second. They got left holding the bag. But the real force behind this effort to ban or force divestment of TikTok, however you want to phrase it, was the intelligence community. Okay. There was a high pressure lobbying campaign behind the scenes by the FBI and the CIA. Let me read here from Ken Klippenstein's reporting. In one classified briefing after another, intelligence officials succeeded at scaring the shit out of our elected leaders about China and using the app to collect Americans' data or covertly influence them. It's important when they talk about China's influencing people. They're speaking purely hypothetically so far.
Right.
They have no evidence that China's ever done anything using TikTok to assault the minds of America's children.
And I remember us talking about at the time, I think, the fact that, like, you can just, if you just have the money to do it, you can just buy people's data from these, data harvesting firms. So it's like China wouldn't even need to do anything that's, complicated and nefarious or whatever.
No.
Like, they could just go buy it if they want it from all the places you allow to harvest our data with no issues at all. So, like, what are we doing here? Why is this really any different?
It'd be much cheaper to just buy, and probably more effective to get better data if you just bought Facebook's much bigger data set for cheaper than building an app. So basically, at the hands of let's use Trump's language, at the request of the deep state, Democrats handed Trump this TikTok win on a platter by picking up right-wing arguments about national security and censorship and running with them. It feels to me like a silly version of the lead up to the Iraq War. Where, like, this stuff is going to be on their record forever. Like, when they go to run for higher office, they're going to be the people that voted to ban TikTok. And, like, they're doing this with immigration right now as well, with, like, 10 Democrats, John Fetterman, the two yokels from fucking Arizona or whatever, voted for the Lake and Raleigh Act, which gives insane powers to state officials to stop immigration. And, like basically, like, state AGs, we'll probably get into it in depth later when I do better research, but basically my understanding is state attorney generals can, like, sue to keep all the nationals from one particular country out or whatever. And, like, the fact it's named the Lake and Raleigh Act, as a general rule of thumb, if you're any sort of legislator, you should not vote for any law named after a dead white girl. There's probably a bunch of bad shit in it.
Yeah, you know that's how they get you.
Right. So, anyway, I'm not sure what the long-term plan here, because Trump is, like, does he know he's surrounded by actual committed China hawks? Here's Tom Cotton posting on Twitter. Any company that hosts, distributes services, or otherwise facilitates communist-controlled TikTok could face hundreds of billions of dollars of ruinous liability under the law, not just in the Department of Justice, but also under securities law, shareholder lawsuits, and state attorneys general. Think about it. He's fucking right. The law's still on the books. This law financially penalizes app stores like Google and Apple who continue to host TikTok in the App Store. It also penalizes people that host TikTok servers, which is Oracle. And Trump, no matter what promises he made to those companies to not enforce the ban, he cannot stop shareholder lawsuits. He can't stop state attorneys general. He can't stop any of that shit. So, like, he can't stop the next presidential administration from coming back and saying, no, that law was on the books. You guys owe us 5 years of fucking penalties.
So at the very least, you would have to, like, you're like going out on a limb by trusting the Trump administration that nothing will come of it if you're one of these.
Yes.
If you're in one of these positions,
Right.
Because it's like they could say that and they might abide by it the whole time, but if you piss them off and they go back on it, or like you said, the next administration comes in and they come after you, then you're still fucked because there is a law on the books. So
Yes.
right,
As much as all these congressmen who wrote the law are now saying it shouldn't be enforced, as much as Biden tried to sign the law and said it shouldn't be enforced, as much as Trump pushed for executive order and then the law and says it shouldn't be enforced, the law exists currently. If they don't write another law that gets rid of it retroactively, it's like this is all made up bullshit. And it's
well, I want to know, and you maybe you're like planning to get to it either way, but like, what do you think like actually explicitly happened behind the scenes with like the whole like the way that their TikTok is very publicly jerking off Trump and being like, "Thank you, Daddy Trump, for doing this." Do you think it's like someone in the administration or somebody representing Trump was like, "Listen, we'll fix this, okay? If you pay, if you kiss the ring, because that's what Trump needs and loves from everybody. You got to kiss the ring," and so they just did it. Because of some handshake agreement, they were like, hey, we'll take care of you guys, but you have to openly jerk us off to everybody, or what? I mean, what else could it even be, really?
I just think you have to. I think TikTok sees how how Musk and Zuckerberg got front row seats to the inauguration. The TikTok CEO also was sitting with them, I think.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
It's just like, right. Yes, they're just okay. Yeah, you also could, because anybody who does kiss the ring, Trump will. Anybody that kisses the ring and has billions of dollars, Trump is gonna, be there for, and you're gonna hit for him. So maybe they preemptively did it because they knew that it would be effective, as opposed to like an arrangement being worked out or whatever. But either way, it's them currying favor with Trump because they know that that'll work. Because it's like you said, they framed it like he swept in and single-handedly saved TikTok, but like you said, nothing actually changed the whole time. They just had taken it off and then they put it back on, but they gave Trump credit for it. Yeah.
It's all like all this stuff. Like I can't figure out which part of this is show and which isn't. Like does China hit for Trump or not right now? Because he invited President Xi to his inauguration. Usually just an ambassador would go, but China did send its vice president, right? But also in the inaugural speech, he said we need to invade Panama to fend off Chinese influence.
He did, yes.
But also, he's announcing that he wants to make an official state visit to China. Like I think in his back. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and also when he was talking about why we should invade Panama, it seemed like he was making the argument we should do it in honor of the memory of President William McKinley, in addition to to like fend off Chinese actors or whatever. What I'm saying is like that whole part was weird. Period. Like he did talk about it's like China thinks they own it or whatever, but he talked about how Mount McKinley had been renamed for woke reasons, and he was going to fix that. And he's like, McKinley, great president, and then he used that to like transition into Panama. And he's like, we've insulted his memory by letting them just take this over and fuck us the way they have. I don't know. It was wild, dude. But
it's
anyway.
So I saw he also said that we lost 38,000 people building the canal, and it's like the 38,000 people that died were largely Afro-Caribbean. Let's be generous and call them workers.
Indentured servants. Yeah.
So I wanted to figure out because I think as far as like he wants to make an official state visit to China. I think in his head he remembers how Nixon was hailed as a hero for going to China. Only Nixon could go to China because he was a hardcore anti-communist. He could make peace with the ravenous Chacoms, right? I think he's trying to build China up into a bigger threat so he can go over there and make nice and look like a big hero. He's doing it's pro wrestling again. This is all Kayfabe.
Yeah,
I feel like I need everyone to remember Trump's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yes,
I need everyone like everything makes more sense when you know that.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like that's out of his playbook too. Like he did that with North Korea, and you know what I mean. And I mean Russia too. Like he's he bends over for Putin, but he tries to frame it like I'm the only guy that can work with these dudes. Is the way he like tries to put it. And I'm sure he would love to add China to that list.
Yeah, so because Trump's promised everything to so many people, like I was wondering where the Falun Gong was at in all this, because they're of course like right wing anti-communist Chinese religion that runs the Epoch Times, the free newspaper you find left all over every major city.
I also get emails from those motherfuckers now. So
yeah.
now I don't know how that started either, but it's always fun. Yeah, the Epoch Times, they're wild because it's like.
So
yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
It's
just a wild thing.
I went and found this story that apparently is paywalled for Matt. He's showing me because yeah. So I'm not sure why I'm behind the paywall for the Epoch Times. That bugs me a little bit.
Yeah, that implies that Mark is paying for the Epoch Times.
Yeah.
The fact that Matt can't get to it, Mark apparently can.
Well, apparently I'm subscribed to the Falun Gong's company newsletter. The way they're framing this is this. The House Speaker Johnson says he plans to uphold ban on TikTok over thread it poses. And the subheadline is, of course, because it's the Falun Gong, is the Chinese Communist Party via TikTok has promoted terrible messages to American children as a very dangerous thing. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Mark, what some people may not know, by the way, they're just watching, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Falun Gong, this hard right, very anti-communist, anti-CCP group from China that now is based in America, they also are the ones that run. Have y'all ever seen the Chinese Cirque du Soleil billboards in your town? They're called Xin Yun or something like that.
Yeah.
All around the country. Like, you ever thought, you're like, oh, that's like Cirque du Soleil, but it's Chinese, and it comes through town? That's these same people. These same people that run the Epoch Times. That's them. They also got acrobats, and that's how they raise money and shit, is they tour that all around the country. So, yeah, they're just, I don't know. I'm fascinated with their whole thing.
They've also got caught up in some legal shenanigans recently in a couple different ways, I think, including the dance troupe. I didn't follow the details. I don't want to talk out my ass, but yeah, there's some sort of investigation in them. So anyway, what Speaker Johnson said, according to the Epoch Times, is, quote, and when President Trump issued the truth post and said save TikTok, the way we read that is he's going to try and force along a true divestiture, changing of hands, the ownership. So what Johnson's saying is, no, we're still going to force the sale of TikTok as the original law intended. Trump is just angling to find the right buyer, okay? And then maybe he's right, because Trump posted this on Truth Social where he talked about what his solution is to have the U.S. government own a 50% ownership position in the joint venture that owns TikTok, okay? So we're going from we have to ban this because it's state-owned propaganda to no, we should make it different state-owned propaganda.
Our state-owned propaganda.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I mean, that is pretty. If you got to deal with a state-owned propaganda, it would be better for it to be your own state-owned propaganda, I think, if you're part of the state,
Yeah, if you're part of the state, yeah. So I think so if you follow the events here, I think what happened is Joe Biden may have accidentally given birth to pro-Trump North Korean state media full of dancing teenagers.
Yeah, I know. Because that's the thing. You started this by pointing out that a 19-year-old in Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin, I think. Fond du Lac, whatever. That 19-year-old Wisconsin set fire to a congressman's office because of this. And it's like, we all know that teenagers be dumb. We all know how much they love TikTok, how wrapped up they are, and how much they care. Now put that together with the direct messaging that TikTok itself has given straight to these kids about Donald Trump, about how, like, this thing you care about so much, he's the only thing standing in the way of it going away forever. He's the one who saved it for you. And it's like, the thing is, hopefully, ideally, he never is up for any other election again, unless he fucking makes himself dictator or something. He shouldn't run for anything, so hopefully it doesn't even really matter all that much electorally. But, like, it's going to make a bunch of these teenage kids be like, dude, Trump rules. I mean, it's going to. It's definitely going to.
Maybe, but also one thing you got to factor in is that Americans have attention spans of 20 seconds because of apps like TikTok.
Well, especially the ones who love TikTok that much, yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, like, they're about to see a bunch of videos from users going viral about immigration raids, protest, women, bleeding out in parking lots because of new abortion restrictions. And they're all going to see that on Trump reinstated TikTok unless something changes about the way information is delivered.
Well, what if it does? I mean, this is just me just speculating straight out of my butt here, but like, people think that like Meta, Facebook, and Instagram, they're taking like a rightward turn, right? Because they see which way the wind is blowing, like with what Elon did with X and that type of shit. And it's like if TikTok has gotten on board with Trump for their own personal reasons, you know, what if they start doing like what happens on Twitter, basically? Meaning like instead of sending that shit around like you're saying, it becomes kind of a right-wing echo chamber instead, like it seems like they all have been doing recently. That would be bad.
But like... Yeah, it would be, but also it becomes a less fun user experience because no one wants to be served up nothing but political content. They want to watch their cooking videos and music songs and jokes and sketches. And,
some
like,
people love
falling
political
down.
content, Mark. Some people that lead a perfectly rational life and have good taste love stuff
No,
that's about
I'm not-
politics.
If somebody
I know.
came to our show, they're seeking it out. What they don't want to do is be trying to find a cooking video and they'd be served up a pro-Trump ad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not a fun experience. And then you leave the app, you go to a different app. So
Yeah. I also make cooking videos, so it checks out that, you know, but don't hit for none of you, that for you at all. I'm just kidding. Look, you're right, but yeah, I don't know. It still just seems like it's a trend in tech, period. That they
right, but
go
but
in
again,
that way.
Donald, like all the stuff they're doing, Donald Trump's popularity is still underwater. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, everybody's over-indexing a lot of it. Like, but the background of all this stuff, and like part of the reason, like even in those intelligence community briefings they gave Congress trying to scare the shit out of them, they had to admit to Congress that foreign influence ops so far have been pretty unsuccessful. Okay, so like, I'm not sure why people think turning TikTok into a pro-Trump thing would swing people pro-Trump as opposed to make them anti-TikTok, because it's boring and tedious. All right,
Right.
Like not everybody wants to see nothing but Forgiato blow songs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. It's like when people got real mad about Zuckerberg for him, didn't he basically say like we're not gonna like. I mean, he framed it like we're going to be okay with free speech now. We're not going to censor people. But wasn't it basically being like we're not going to say people, you know, can't do Nazi shit or say the N-word? Wasn't that like kind of what he was saying?
Yeah, but like Zuckerberg's his point is that like yeah, we're not going to stop people from saying that being trans is a mental illness anymore, because it's a mainstream inbounds argument in American political discourse. And I think as much as that sucks, he's not wrong, because J.D. Vance is the vice president of the United States. So the user response, the TikTok user response to this effort of government censorship was pretty funny, because what everyone did was they got on Red Note, which is sort of like China's answer to Instagram.
Yeah.
700,000 Americans signed up for Red Note in just 2 days, and led to a pretty funny series of events.
Yes.
The app's Chinese users were welcoming Americans with open arms, asking for cat photos, and offering help with their English homework. That's a hell of a dunk on us. Chinese people are helping American kids with their English homework.
Yeah, that's a shame. There was a few dunks from them, because I also know that they were like, apparently they like got medical stories shared from American healthcare experiences, and they were like aghast, and they were like, what? That's how it works in America? That's awful. And that was like getting spread around, and people were like, do you guys know it's this shitty over here? So yeah, it wasn't going good for America.
It is important to note, I'm not comparing our two healthcare systems. I'm just saying that it's worth noting that China's internet, including Red Note, is heavily censored, which we'll get to in a second. But in the real world, China's people spent 2023 protesting in the streets about cuts to healthcare spending. Okay?
Okay.
They've been doing austerity over there because they ran out of money during COVID. So it's not like even to them, if you listen to their people speak when they're not talking on Red Note, their healthcare isn't super great. So
I would love to know how the truth of the matter with them compares to our actual healthcare too, though. You know what I mean? Like they're protesting in the streets, and what if it's like still maybe arguably better? That would be very
maybe.
damning.
But my
anyway.
understanding is like when you go to an air quote doctor over there, only 20% of the people are actual medical doctors, which maybe a nurse practitioner is good enough. Yeah.
That's not
So,
good.
but I just find Americans are so funny, bro. We get mad at our government, and that leads to us being fully trusting of another government. It's basically like, we were told that China's authoritarian, but everyone on this Chinese app says only good things about the government. So
Yeah, that's so funny, dude. Sounds to me like China rocks. This app I've been on that censors any kind of dissent has led me to believe that China's fucking rad.
Yeah. So Red Note is the English translation for the name they're using, but I can't pronounce the actual Chinese word. But the literal translation is Little Red Book. So American government's like, we got to push Americans away from Chinese propaganda, and they still look away from their computer for a moment, look back, and see that more than double the population of Pittsburgh are now on the Chairman Mao said to kill the landlords.org app. It's like I mentioned, it's their Instagram. Like, how awesome does America look on our Instagram? That was Drew's joke, and it's a good joke. It's like, yeah, if you look at American Instagram, everybody is like always on vacation, rich as fucking has abs. Mm-hmm. So like, what?
Yeah, that is a good point. I feel like it also makes us look very fucking stupid, though. But yes, we do have abs, though. We have abs and nice cars while being very stupid. That's what our Instagram makes us look like.
So one interesting thing is like the Chinese users were coaching Americans on how to navigate around Red Note censorship. So they basically told them, let me quote here, quote, "Welcome, but do not say anything about LGBTQ+. Thank you," wrote a user in Beijing. Also, some American users had their content removed or accounts suspended, including one woman who was banned for wearing a low-cut top and mentioning quote unquote trans plight in the United States. China's not woke, y'all. They're not feminist, and they're not nice to gay people. So they're papaws. They're run by papaws just like we are.
Right. They're just like commie adjacent papaws, and I know they're not really like for real communist anymore, but it's like they're like ostensibly communist, right? Like paper communist.
They still got the red shirts.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, China Digital Times, which is a California-based nonprofit that covers censorship in China, got a hold of a leaked trove of documents about content moderation at Red Note. And they found, this is pretty funny, a list of 546 derogatory nicknames for Xi Jinping, as well as stuff you're not allowed to discuss on there, including labor strikes, geographic discrimination, student suicides, and criticism of the CCP. The nicknames all around the world, 546 is a lot. And basically, because they're censored, they have more nicknames for Xi being an asshole than Eskimos have for snow.
That's hilarious.
So here's a couple of his nicknames that are banned. You can't use the term "a big deal" because apparently that refuses to Xi Jinping. You can't say Mr. Shithole. You can't say shithole Bing Fa, which I don't know what it means. But the funniest one for me is they took Adolf Hitler, and because it replaced the H with X, which when you think of the pronunciation, his nickname for a lot of Chinese people is Adolf Shitler.
Adolf Shitler, yes.
I will say that one aspect of this I think is good, is that it might be at a time when American leaders are agitating for war with Beijing, that Americans being interested in what the day-to-day lives of Chinese people are actually like and see them on there making their own cooking videos and making their own music songs and making their own jokes, doing their own Donald Trump impressions, which they do a lot over there. Like, I think this could be, that part of it's good.
Yeah.
And also we probably need lessons on how to navigate a censored internet, considering what's coming with Project 2025 and wanting to ban porn in certain books and shit. So yeah.
Anytime just regular human beings on either side get a little more culturally affiliated, or not affiliated, but interested in each other and all that is always a good thing, I think, because dehumanization is one of the core tenets of going to war. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. I hope it went smoothly on the stream there. We're going to get out of here. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Check out my upcoming tour dates. Come and see me. Go to weeklyskews.com/more and sign up for the Patreon. $5 a month. 2 full-length bonus episodes per month. Make a hit. Either way, just keep watching. We'll keep doing it. We'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.
Skews.